Today we're going to be demonstrating the heart bead builder, but the instructions will actually apply for all the new bead builder shapes that are going to come out. This new mold actually has 3 layers as opposed to the 2 in the base bead builders. You got your bottom, your middle, and your top. First thing that we're going to do is we're going to lubricate all of the molds on all sides to make sure we don't have any clay stick during the process. Now that we've lubricated our molds, we're going to remove the bottom layer for a second, and we're going to take our top layer and our middle layer, and we're going to assemble it like this. So now you should have basically 2 cavities with the heart shape in it. Okay, so taking 2 a little bit larger than pea-sized balls of clay, you're going to load the mold just simply by pushing the ball into it and filling the cavity. You can just press it out to all the edges so that it fills it in. Okay, so now that we have it loaded, we're going to take our bottom piece, or plunger piece, and we're going to set it up on top, and we're going to compress it in. Using a C-clamp, you can tighten it. You can do it by hand. C-clamp might just be a little bit more thorough. You'll see that we have a little bit of clay extruded. We're actually going to kind of leave that in there for a minute, and I'll show you why. When we take the top off here, occasionally you will get dimples, and here you can see one of them just slightly. And that's created by the vacuum when we compress it, and then it gets released. So what we do with that extruded clay down there is we take a 3mm drill bit. Shouldn't be smaller than 3mm, but it can be a little bit bigger than that. And we're going to actually use that to push the clay back in, and that will reverse the effect that the vacuum had when we compressed it. And if you have dimples in the front, you won't have it after you do this. The rest of it can just be cleaned out. Okay, so now that we have that done, we're going to go ahead and remove the top layer, which is give us our 2 sides of our heart in wet clay that you can work with if you want to stamp it or mark it. If you're adding to it, then you would let it dry first.
Okay.
And for the purpose of keeping everybody thinking a short video, instead of continuing with the base top, we're going to demonstrate a new framed part that's going to come out for this one, as well as all the rest of the shapes. Simply what you're going to do is, after you make this one, you're going to take this part and you're going to put it right over. And we're going to recompress with the C-clamp. So now if we open this up, you'll see the frame actually gives you a recessed point after it's fired that you can either embed photo jewelry or whatnot. So we're going to put this on the hot plate and set it to dry. Okay, so now that we allowed the top layer to dry a little bit, what we're going to do is we're going to separate the middle and the bottom. And what we do is now we set this, you should have the other side, you set it back on the hot plate to dry. So now that it's back from the hot plate, the nice thing is the clay actually shrinks inside of this, so it's actually going to want to fall out. The only thing that's going to stop it is this paper thin excess clay, which once we clean that off, the beads will literally pretty much just drop out. Okay, so now that we've cleaned it up a little bit, you'll see the bead really just kind of almost wants to pop out by itself. And you can just gently push it out a little bit. Also, the mold, while it's warm, is a little flexible, so that helps as well. You want to be gentle with this, but it's one. Worth noting too is this little extrusion. We could have cleaned this up while it's wet. I didn't. But you also might want to consider, if you want one side of the bead weighted for hanging on a bracelet or something to be heavier than that, you can take advantage of how you clip that. If you decide to clip it at all or leave it, it is kind of just a waste of clay otherwise. Now we're going to take our two sides and just allow them to dry on the hot plate just for a few more minutes. Okay, so now that it's back from the hot plate, we want to test fit them together. And sometimes it will fit perfect, and sometimes it won't fit perfect. That just depends sometimes on the clay. Actually, it depends on the clay all the time. If it does not fit perfect, as soon as you wet this ridge here with slip, it'll soften it up and it'll fit together perfect after a minute. So what we're going to do now is we're going to apply slip right along these keyed edges, and we're going to go ahead and join our piece. When you do this, I don't know, for me it's like, okay, put more slip because it's a heck of a lot easier to extrude out the extra than it is to fill it in when it's closed. As you'll see, it kind of extrudes out to the side, but as I said, that'll make it much easier to close that seam. And you want to then dry it again and reapply until you have a nice closed seam. This was done in PMC Flex. The standard base bead is 4.5 grams. With the recessed frame, it's 2.9 to 3 grams of clay dried as you see it right now. If you want to do 960, I would recommend an art clay and PMC Sterling mix, just because the shrinkage will work out to the same, very similar to what a PMC 3 or Flex would, 12 to 13%. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you.